Vikings didn't stick to Europe.
Viking ships sailed almost the length of the known world, reaching everywhere from North America to Constantinople. Archaeological evidence and medieval sagas even suggest they sailed the Tigris River all the way to Baghdad. Many of these expeditions were either exploratory voyages or raids, and most Norse colonization was limited to the northern hemisphere. Due to their contact with so many regions, the Viking world was large, expansive, and diverse.
Vikings kept bears as pets.
Vikings were known to keep animals, but they didn't limit themselves to the standard cats and dogs. Vikings also kept bears as pets. Bears were domesticated from covert. Iceland even created laws to regulate polar bear ownership. According to one, if a man has a tame white bear, then he is to handle it in the same way as a dog and similarly pay for any damage it does. A bear has no immunity in respect of injuries done to it if it harms people.
Some Vikings became elite bodyguards, the Byzantine Empire.
Perhaps given their legendary fighting ability, Vikings became bodyguards for some of the most significant rulers in the pre-modern world. The Varangian Guard, a high-ranking unit made up of Vikings, protected Byzantine emperors from the late 10th century. The Varangian Vikings came to Constantinople by way of modern-day Russia. Though they continued to serve emperors, their status diminished by the 1200s.
Some Norse warriors really did go berserk before battle.
While they seem like the stuff of legend, there were actually Norse warriors called berserkers who went into battle seized by an uncontrolled fury. The term translates from Norse as to change form, indicating strong men who fought wearing bearskins and were imbued with otherworldly power. Sagas of the time described them as mad dogs who shrieked when running into combat and could slay an opponent with one blow. Modern theories for what caused berserker rage usually revolve around intoxicants like mushrooms or strong alcohol.
Gender roles weren't totally rigid.
While Nordic societies were male-dominated, women enjoyed relative freedom, especially compared to other European cultures. Women married young but could go on exploratory journeys with men, and made up a number of far-flung colonists. Women could inherit property, manage family finances, and request divorces. Were even able to get their dowry back in some cases. Women also participated in roles that may have been closed to them in Western European society. Shield maidens or warrior women, other Nordic sagas, for example. Archaeologists also discovered the grave of a high-ranking Viking warrior who was biologically female.
Vikings weren't always blonde-haired and blue-eyed, though they sometimes dyed their hair to live up to beauty ideals.
Contrary to inaccurate and racially charged depictions of Vikings as exclusively blonde-haired and blue-eyed, they were a culturally and ethnically diverse group with a variety of appearances. To conform to Nordic beauty ideals, brown-haired male Vikings would sometimes use a strong soap with a high concentration of lye to bleach their hair blonde. Some men would use the soap on their beards as well. The lye soap had a practical application beyond looking trendy. It killed lice.
They sold unicorn horns in their extensive trade networks.
Vikings are perhaps best known for their devastating raids on coasts and along rivers. But they were also traders connected to networks that stretched all the way to North America and the Middle East. Among the goods that they circulated narwhal tusks, which they sold as unicorn horns. Given the popularity of unicorns in medieval Europe, fueled by the belief that unicorns were real creatures, there was no shortage of wealthy buyers.
Vikings engaged in rap battles.
Vikings found creative solutions to rivalries. If two people ran into conflict, they could publicly needle each other. Flyting, from the Old Norse word for provocation, was an opportunity for a Viking to show off his verbal prowess by poetically insulting someone else. Flyting became a feature of courts throughout the Viking world, including England and Scotland.
Viking warriors didn't wear horned helmets.
Vikings have become synonymous with horned helmets. But the ubiquitous headgear seen in operas, comics, and TV shows probably wasn't worn by Viking warriors. They would have been unwieldy for close-quarter combat and a pointless affectation. It's likely that these helmets were first linked to Vikings in the 19th century, thanks to a costume designer. Carl Emil Doppler created the costumes for Richard Wagner's Norse-themed operas. He probably based his hat designs on Greco-Roman artwork as well as helmets that old Germanic priests wore during ceremonies.
They believed warriors got to bring their dogs into the afterlife.
Vikings seemingly had strong bonds with their dogs. They believed that warriors' dogs could accompany to Valhalla, the grand hall where the most worthy warriors would gather in the afterlife. But in order to enter the hallowed halls of Valhalla, the dog would have to be dead. Dogs were thus sometimes sacrificed and buried with their masters.
They had contact with Native Americans.
400 years before Columbus discovered North America, Viking explorers made inroads into what is now Newfoundland at the turn of the 11th century. They even established a small village at Alansock's Meadows on the northernmost tip of Newfoundland. It was likely inhabited for just a few years, however. Because of their exploration of North America, it's likely that Viking sailors had at least some contact with Native Americans. Inuits and Vikings fought multiple times in Greenland. Moreover, scientists have discovered a genetic link between some Icelanders and Native Americans, which suggests a Native American woman might have traveled to Iceland with Vikings. Trade likely took place as well. The main penny, a Norwegian silver coin dating to the late 1000s, found in a large trove of archaeological objects in Maine in 1957. Some scholars have said the coin is evidence of at least some Viking contact in the United States, with others saying it likely was brought from Newfoundland at some point, and a few simply writing it off as a hoax.
Burning funeral boats on the open water wasn't really a thing.
The image of a flaming funeral ship drifting into the sea may be powerful, but it's not totally accurate. It is true that some Vikings, especially important ones, were cremated in boats. But these ships were usually buried on land as part of the funeral ritual. They likely weren't sent into open water. Though funeral traditions varied in the Viking world, many burials included grave goods or items that the deceased might need in the afterlife.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care. Bye.